Welcome back to Horrifying Stories. Before anything else, we would greatly appreciate it if you can subscribe to our channel for a weekly dose of horrifying stories. On February 1, 2003, Space Shuttle Columbia was headed back to base after finishing its 28th mission to space. As it flew over Texas, all of a sudden, onlookers started seeing multiple streaks of light coming down at high speed. The space shuttle was falling into pieces, with 7 crew on board. This is their horrifying story. Viewer discretion is advised. NASA's Space Shuttle program first started on April 12, 1981 and consisted of a total fleet of 5 space shuttles, namely Columbia, Challenger, Discovery, Atlantis, and Endeavour. Space Shuttle Columbia was the first ever spacecraft that was launched under the said program, and since then each spacecraft in the fleet took turns in bringing astronauts to space. The program was launched primarily to build the International Space Station or ISS. However, the flight on January 16, 2003 was dedicated solely for research. It was Columbia's 28th mission into space. 7 astronauts were on board. The crew were composed of the team's commander Rick Husband, payload commander Michael Anderson, mission specialists David Brown, Kalpana Chawla, and Laurel Clark, pilot William McCool, and another payload specialist from the Israeli Space Agency, Ilan Ramon.
10, 9, 8, 7. We have a go for main engine start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have booster ignition and liftoff of Space Shuttle Columbia with a multitude of national and international space research experiments. Houston now.
82 seconds after the spacecraft took off, a portion of the foam insulation on the shuttle's fuel tank got detached mid-air and smashed the edge of its left wing. A couple of the cameras documenting the launch captured what exactly happened. Judging from the recorded videos, engineers could not exactly pinpoint which part of the wing got damaged and how critical it was. Alarmed, NASA engineers strongly advised that actual pictures of the damaged left wing must be secured while Columbia was still in space. While previous instances of a similar case in the previous 3 launches have been non-critical, some of the engineers believed a thorough check was necessary as a damaged wing can be a recipe for disaster. Furthermore, the Department of Defense offered that their orbital spy cameras are ready anytime to capture a closer glimpse of the damage. Regrettably, NASA management decided to decline the offer, believing that even if critical damage would be identified, there was no way they could possibly repair the damage within Columbia's 2-week stay in space. Meanwhile, the crew thousands of miles away worked on various experiments non-stop, going back-to-back on 2 shifts. A total of about 80 experiments were completed while they were there, ranging from life sciences, material sciences, and fluid physics among others. After 16 days of non-stop research in space, on February 1, 2003, the Columbia crew set out on its scheduled re-entry to Earth. En route to the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, minutes before 9 in the morning, the Mission Control Center detected abnormal readings. Temperature readings from sensors attached to the left wing suddenly got cut off. In a split second, tire pressure readings from the left side also suddenly stopped. The Capcom, the communication line between the Mission Control Center and the spacecraft, tried to contact Columbia to inform them of the concern. Around 8:59 a.m., Rick Husband responded from Columbia, and halfway through his sentence, the line was suddenly cut off as well. The spacecraft was already flying 200,700 feet above ground over Dallas, with speeds of up to 18 times the speed of sound. Worried, the Mission Control tried to contact Columbia again and again, hoping to restore the connection. However, they could no longer get through. In 12 minutes, the spacecraft was scheduled to land at Kennedy Space Center. With totally no communication with Columbia, everyone was just looking intently at the sky, awaiting signs of the spacecraft making its final approach. Then, the phone rang and they heard the dreaded news. On the call, the caller told the mission controller that the space shuttle was being featured on a television network. breaking news of the shuttle's re-entry filled the television screens.
Now, because we've got some breaking news, the Space Shuttle Columbia was going over North Texas. You're looking at a live picture now of Mission Control. And this was the shuttle going over North Texas. At the time, it looked like a normal re-entry. But then we began to see this.
If you'll notice here, it looks like you can see pieces of the shuttle coming off.
See what appears to be multiple pieces of the shuttle.
We cannot confirm whether this is an indication that the shuttle broke up upon re-entry or not.
As shown in the video, onlookers started seeing multiple streaks of light coming down at high speed. Not long after, NASA activated their Space Shuttle contingency and deployed teams to facilitate search and rescue around Texas and Louisiana. Before the day came to a close, NASA had already deemed the astronauts as missing. For weeks, many teams continued to search for debris that had been spread around the area of East Texas at an estimate of at least 2,000 square miles. 84,000 pieces of debris were recovered by NASA, or roughly around only 40% of the total weight of Columbia. Bodies of the 7 crew have been recovered and identified through the use of DNA technology. It has been believed that the crew survived when the spacecraft first got broken into pieces, but may have been unconscious right after, due to loss of cabin pressure, eventually leading to their untimely death as soon as the space shuttle was completely disintegrated. Ironically, however, the roundworms the crew used in their experiments in space survived the crash. After thorough investigation, the Columbia Accident Investigation Board disclosed that there had been an error in critical decision-making that led to the tragedy. NASA management could have extended Columbia's stay in the orbit for another 2 weeks until February 15th, and moved the scheduled launch of Atlantis to an earlier date. Space Shuttle Atlantis could have arrived by February 10th, and they could have at least around 5 days to repair the damaged wing, or at least save the crew by getting them out of Columbia and ferrying them back on board Atlantis. Aside from the root cause, the foam which had ultimately started it all, NASA has also been called out for poor organizational practices and minimizing potentially critical issues like the foam problem. The Space Shuttle program was eventually suspended and resumed only on July 26, 2005, with Space Shuttle Discovery on the program's 114th mission to space. The spacecraft's external tank has been redesigned and additional safety practices have been implemented, including the use of cameras and robotic arms to do a thorough check on the shuttle's belly for any damages or broken tiles. NASA also installed more camera views of the shuttle during takeoff to improve monitoring on foam shedding. Discovery's 2005 launch exceeded the set threshold on foam shedding, so the next mission was moved to the following year. Only by then did NASA resume its full operations with more shuttle launches in a year. By July 2011, the program ended with the final launch of Space Shuttle Atlantis, making a total of 135 missions to space, which led to the completion of the construction of the International Space Station. In honor of Columbia's final mission, in 2015, the Kennedy Space Visitor Center launched the first NASA exhibit, displaying the debris retrieved from the Columbia spacecraft, as well as that of the Challenger spacecraft, which also fatally crashed in 1986. The permanent exhibit, called Forever Remembered, also commemorates the 14 astronauts whose lives tragically ended in this airspace disaster. Thank you for making it this far. If you liked this video, click on the like button and subscribe to our channel. Let us know what you think about this episode. We would love to hear from you. Again, thank you and see you on the next one.